Hi guys, Dr. Mel, and we're busy with electrochemistry. And this will be the last session we will have a look at the electrochemistry and electrolysis cell. Important, we're now going to discuss the relationship of the current and the potential difference. Now we know we did this with electricity when we did physics. Let's have a look when we actually go and have a look at this electrons being transferred. How does it work? So we've done all the definitions and reducing and oxidizing agents, and we've done the applications as well as electrolysis. We had a look at the half reactions. We now looked at the standard electrode potential when we worked out the E cell and the galvanic and voltaic cells. When we have a look at electrochemistry as a whole, we now have to see where is the reactions and what is its relationship to the standard electrode potential. Right, let's have a look at two equations which you have already done, specifically in physics, but it's also applicable in chemistry. Firstly, the EMF. We know the EMF is measured in volts and it's the energy. Remember energy, guys, measured in joules that is being transferred when every charge is being transferred from one to another electrode or substance. So it's important that I've got energy transfer. So a volt is a joule per coulomb. You know that. And we can express that as a volt or the potential difference. That's important that you know. Volts is energy per electron or charge. Finally, we've got the current. Remember, these electrons are flowing through the system. So it's the rate, it's the time measured in seconds that it's flowing in this, which we also call a circuit, because we've got electrons flowing. It's the current. It's made up by the coulombs of charges flowing in a certain time, which is the rate. The strength of this current is depending on the rate of the reaction. What's the time taken to take an electron from one electrode to another, or one substance to another? There's a few factors that will determine the strength of current. The first one will be the contact area. Now we know we've got the electrode that's inside the container. You know it's a metal usually, but it can be a gas, it can be anything. If that contact area is greater, it will increase the reaction rate. So what I'm drawing there is one electrode that's that size, and I've got another one which is smaller. Now let's see if you can think that this one will have much more electrons and faster being released or obviously gained than the smaller one. So it's the contact area that will determine the current. The second will be an increase in concentration. If I've got electrodes here in this solution, we can actually increase, let's say, from 1 mole per cubic decimeter to, say, for instance, 5 mole per cubic decimeter. Then we know we've got more atoms or ions, especially ions there, so that will increase the current. So the more concentrated or the larger the area, the more current. And then finally, the resistance will also determine what the current will be. Exactly the same that we did in electricity. So we want to lower the internal resistance. How can we do it? We can increase the electrode side. We just did it up there. We can increase the concentration. We just explained it there. But we can also do one other thing, and we can lower the resistance with a broader salt bridge. Now, let me quickly draw you the salt bridge that we did in the electrochemical voltaic cell. Remember that we had the salt bridge there. Now, if we make the salt bridge thicker like that instead of there, you can see it's got less internal resistance. or we can just make it shorter. Let's say, for instance, a very short one like that will also decrease the resistance, increasing the current. Right, the E cell will also be involved with equilibrium. Now, equilibrium is when the forward and reverse reaction is happening at exactly the same time. So let's have a look. I've got the explanation for zinc, which is the anode. The stronger, remember, the stronger reducing agent will be zinc, and it's now reacting with the copper ions, which is the stronger oxidizing agent. That we've done in a previous lesson, and if you've forgotten that, go and have a look at that lesson. Now, if that is happening, it's actually reversible reactions. So this one can go that way, but it can also go that way, as well as this one going this way and that way. We did a whole chapter on equilibrium. So go and have a look at equilibrium, Le Chatelier's principle, so that you can actually apply that in your electrochemistry chapter. Now, what's going to happen? We're going to have this reversible reactions. Firstly, you're going to have a voltmeter or galvanometer reading, which is maximum. Then it's as the reaction is proceeding, as the electrons are released and gained again, it will decrease a little bit, the voltmeter. So it will start off with a maximum. It will decrease and decrease until it reaches equilibrium, which means the forward and the reverse reaction happens at the same rate, and then it will stop. It will be at a minimum, which is 0 volts. Because then it will be exactly the same tempo or rate that the electrons will be transferred. So you need to know that I start off with a maximum, it decreases, and it actually stops when it reaches equilibrium. Right, you need to know the components. We did the salt breach now, we did the concentration of the electrolytes, and we did the area or the surface of the electrodes. So those components you have to know: half reactions, anode, cathode, the relationship between the rate of the reaction, and we said now the rate of the reaction and volts you've got to be able to identify, as well as the factors that will influence that rate of reaction. I hope you enjoy working with electrolysis and galvanic cells and all the applications, because we are going to use it somewhere in life. You're going to tell your kids how it's going to work. So rather get into these lessons and get full marks, because it's not difficult. You just have to study a little bit. Bye.